What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JP, back again with another video, and today I have for you the Nubia Z50 Ultra. That's right, this is the Ultra variant. Pretty different from the standard Z50, but most of it is from an aesthetic standpoint, but it does also have more features as well. I'm just going to kind of run down the specs here. It does have Android 13. It does have ZTE or Nubia's UI, which is MyOS 13. It has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is the 4nm chipset, which is also what the standard Z50 has, which came out not several, but a couple months before this. This actually came out in March. I've had it for about a month. And the standard Z50 actually came out in December. It was one of the first and actually one of the most affordable Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 powered devices that you can get. This is the Chinese variant. I think there is supposed to be a global variant, but it's not out yet to my understanding. And it may only come out in India, and I could be wrong about that altogether. But the Z50 Ultra is pretty sweet, honestly. Now, back to the specs here, back to the processor and whatnot. The GPU, of course, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is the Adreno 740. It does have that Cortex X3 processor within the octa-core, of course, and it's clocked at 3.2 gigahertz. There's not really much else to be said there. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is the latest and greatest. It has ray tracing. It's that, and the Adreno 740 is about as flagship as you can get. This doesn't have expandable memory, but it does have a dual SIM slot. This is the 8 GB variant. It does have 6 gigs of RAM extension via software, putting it to 14 gigs, if that's something that you believe works. Some people do, some people don't. I do, but other people don't. It does have, this variant does have 256 gigs of internal memory. So even without expansion, it has a pretty decent amount, honestly. And that is the base. There is no 128 or less, which is really good that a lot of people are actually going that route. They're making 256 the norm. And it is also UFS 4.0. The RAM is also DDR5X, not just DDR5, which is great. It does have HDR10 plus. The selfie camera is a 16 megapixel, and it doesn't have the headphone jack. It does have Wi-Fi 6, which is really good. Bluetooth 5.3. It does have NFC. It does even have a IR blaster, which you don't see on a lot of phones other than those from Xiaomi. So that's really good to see. I know there's some Realme phones that have it right now too. So it's really good to see manufacturers go back to that, because that's been a mainstay for mainly your Xiaomi phones for the most part. It does have video out of the Type-C port. It's 3.1, which is really good. It does have the under-display optical fingerprint sensor. It does have facial recognition, which works really well. It has a 5,000 milliamp battery. It is 80-watt wired charging, and it does come in the box, as you can see there pictured. Even has the same USB cable that your Red Magic phones get. This even has the same game space mode that your Red Magic phones get, because remember, your Red Magic phones are also made by Nubia. Your Nubia Z40, they kind of made that a big deal last year, that it had the same game space that your Red Magic phones had. This even has a switch that you can use to have that same effect that your Red Magic phones have when you flip it, and it's red as well, and it can go into game space, but you can also use it as an alert slider like your OnePlus phones, which I'll show you here momentarily. And I actually prefer to use it as an alert slider, because you can add the game space to your toggles and your notification tray. So that's kind of the setup that I have. A lot of people know I love Red Magic phones and I love the game space feature, and the fact that this has that is really cool. And I like that I can kind of add that to the toggles and then use the alerts, use the button on the side as an alert slider like your OnePlus phones, because I really like that from your OnePlus phones. I did have the OnePlus 11. I didn't do a video of it, but I, for the most part, absolutely loved that phone. The OnePlus 11 was definitely a return to form for OnePlus, I think. I wasn't excited about a OnePlus phone that much since the OnePlus 7 Pro, or actually, no, correction, the OnePlus 7T Pro 5G McLaren from T-Mobile. I really liked, but this isn't about OnePlus, obviously, and I didn't end up doing a video on it. Again, I don't do a video on every phone that I get. I do get a lot. And there's so many great videos on that phone already that, no one's going to want to watch mine. Those that know my videos aren't as detailed as a lot of others. But of course, the Z50 Ultra isn't going to be something that you're going to see a lot of, especially in English or specifically in the United States. And I will get to its compatibility with networks here momentarily as well. Actually, I just want to touch on the rear cameras right quick, and then I can do just that, because that's actually what this phone is known for. That's what makes this an Ultra. It has two 50 megapixel cameras on the back. It has three cameras total. It has two 64 megapixel cameras. One of them is a standard with laser autofocus, and the other one is actually a periscope telephoto lens. And then you also have a 50 megapixel ultra wide. And then of course you have that ring LED with dual tone flash and HDR panorama. Sorry, y'all, I always get that word confused when I'm talking about like sunroofs and stuff like that. It's so they're pronounced and spelled almost the same. But and I know I'm not the only one that's done that. It does have stereo speakers. I have to say, though, that for having stereo speakers, they're not the best. They don't nearly get as loud as your Red Magic phones do. And even though your Red Magic stereo speakers, they're super loud, but a lot of people also argue that they're not the highest quality, despite as loud as they get. But this phone here, it doesn't get as loud, and I don't think the quality is quite there either. You got a lot of phones where they might not get as loud, but they have so much better quality over what you may compare it to. And that's really not the case here. It's really lacking the speakers. They don't get loud, nor do they have a whole lot of quality behind them. They still suffice. For what they are. They're perfectly fine. It's just that, you not only compared to Red Magic phones, which do get loud. So, in that context, you may say, oh, well, yeah, but this one's probably punchier. It's probably better quality if it doesn't get quite as loud, because loud doesn't always equate to quality. But the quality, I guess it may be a little bit better, but you're not really going to notice it, honestly. But that's really this phone's only shortcoming. Everything else about it is freaking fantastic. The screen is a little bit bigger on the Ultra. It's a 6.8 versus the 6.7 that the standard Z50 was. The standard Z50 was also curved, dual edges, if you will, whereas this is just completely flat. And this is the gray model, they call it, if you couldn't tell, but it's very granite looking. It has a very matte-like texture to it. Still somewhat slippery and glossy, but it's absolutely beautiful. The pictures don't really do it any justice. It's a fantastic looking phone. There's the red switch. Actually, that's the power button. Actually, I need to correct myself. That's odd, because on the Red Magic, the switch is red, but on here, the power button's actually red. I guess I never paid attention because the switch is right here. And of course, I have it set as an alert slider. But see if I can flip it with this one hand here, like that right there, and then oops. But I have it set as that there. There's that. The screen is it's flat here. It's bigger and it's flat. It's not again. It's 6.8, not 6.7, but it's also not dual curved. It's just completely flat. It is of course Super AMOLED. It is that new. It's a 20:9 aspect ratio, but the resolution is that new in between that I've talked about many times. The one that Xiaomi calls Crystal Res, but nobody else really has a name for it. But it's 1116 by 2480 resolution, so it's not quite Quad HD. It's not 2K in other words, but it's higher than Full HD plus. It's what right now what everyone's calling 1.5K resolution. The Red Magic 8 Pro had it as well. So really nice to see it here. It is 120 hertz. It's a 1 billion colors AMOLED. It does have a peak brightness of 1500 nits, which is freaking fantastic, I have to say. It does have a 4th generation under display camera. The Red Magic 8 Pro was praised by myself included as the front facing camera was way better hidden than it was on the previous generation, the Red Magic 7 Pro and Red Magic 7S Pro, because those used either the 1st or 2nd generation, whereas the Red Magic 8 Pro used either the 2nd or 3rd generation. This is 4th generation. The Nubias always seem to get the better generation, the newer tech for the front-facing camera, which makes sense because these generally they're all about the camera technology. Your Red Magics are more gaming focused. They also sell those for a lot less too, even though they have similar specs. Of course, the Red Magic 8 Pro was a huge improvement in the camera department compared to previous models. But of course, when you buy something like the Nubia Z series, you expect a better camera, as is the case not only with the Z50, but even more so with the Z50 Ultra here. The camera, the under display camera, though, it doesn't seem to be any more camouflaged than it was on the Red Magic 8 Pro. So it makes me wonder what generation the Red Magic 8 Pro used, because I really I kind of thought I wasn't sure what this one was until I read that it was the latest 4th generation. And I honestly, in hindsight, wouldn't be surprised if the Red Magic 8 Pro was also 4th generation, but I could have sworn it was like 3rd gen. And I may be getting certain generations confused because this camera doesn't seem any more camouflaged than it was on the Red Magic 8 Pro. Honestly, I tend to see it more on this phone than I did the Red Magic 8 Pro. So I don't really know what that's about. It might just be a me thing. It might just be me. It's certainly more camouflaged than previous generations, including the Red Magic 7 Pro and the Red Magic 7S Pro, where you could clearly see it. Really, this is really just in my opinion, a Red Magic 8 Pro without the internal fan, but with much better cameras, front and back. So take that for what you will. Because it has a lot of the other things that come from Red Magic's ICE system. And the Red Magic 8 Pro had, what was it, ICE 12.0, I think? Or was it just 11. I think it was 12.0. I can't remember now. But this has a lot of that technology minus the internal fan. And the game space works really well on this phone. The battery life is amazing. It charges insanely fast. It's actually in the box. Samsung, Apple. Yeah, as Flossie Carter would say. The phone feels freaking phenomenal in the hand. It's just very well designed. It's very squared off, which I really like. That's kind of like the feature now. It does come with a hard case that says designed by Nubia on it. There's your reading material, your SIM ejector tool, your box there, with Snapdragon sound. And it's weird because the box doesn't even say Z50 Ultra. It just says Z50. But the box to the standard Z50 isn't as detailed as this box here. So I guess that's kind of how you differentiate the two when they're sealed, maybe. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that, because even on the side, it just says Z50. But you can also tell by the 85 millimeter camera spec right there, because I think on this side right here, it has the, yeah, it does, the 35 millimeter. It was kind of advertising the ultra camera system that this phone actually has, that the standard Z50 did not have. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I've gone over everything. I think I've gone over the bases. This is the silver model. I'm sorry, they don't call it gray. I was wrong. I don't know what phone it is. I have a phone that's silver, but they call it gray, and it's a phone I haven't done a video to yet. Or I may have already done it. Who knows? But it also comes in black and starry sky, which wasn't available yet. It's kind of like a blue color that wasn't available when I ordered this phone from Giztop. And I did get from Giztop for $6.99. Definitely worth it. I have to say, it's definitely worth it. This phone gets full 5G on AT&T and T-Mobile. No problem there. It also gets VoLTE. Of course, I don't expect it to work on Verizon. I could be wrong, but I don't expect it to work on Verizon. But yeah, all in all, this phone is freaking phenomenal. It's definitely the way to go. It's, for $6.99, you're getting cameras that are, they advertise them as being competition for the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but then again, as many people know over the years watching my videos, if you have, because I know my videos sometimes scare people off. But if you do know me, you'll know that camera specs are kind of like my weakness. I know all the other specs and the processors and the frequencies for network compatibility, et cetera, but the cameras, as long as it takes a decent shot of my cars, which is normally where I test, and I'm really happy. As long as it's picking up the cool colors and accents that are on my cars, whether they come with it or I added it, that's what I mainly take pictures of. And as long as it takes good pictures at nighttime too, with these night modes, etc., I'm happy. Don't get me wrong, I don't want a crappy camera. That's not what I'm implying. I do like a phone with a good camera, of course, but I don't get all into these specs and stuff like that. I can definitely tell a difference from a S23 Ultra, from a standard S23, even though the standard S23 itself takes amazing pictures. I can definitely see where the cost difference comes into play at, and it's not just the bigger size screen, which of course is going to come with a bigger battery. That's kind of common sense, but it really is the camera. And these camera lenses, what a lot of people don't realize is these camera lenses, they cost more than the processors. So these two phones can have the same processor, but if this phone is $400 more, it's more than likely in the camera sensor. Even the screens, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about this, but even the screens in a lot of these phones can cost more than the processors. So now, of course, that's one thing I'm not entirely sure about, but camera lenses I am. So they're just something to think about. That's kind of why your quote unquote flagship killers may not take as good of pictures as your actual flagships, But anyways, I'm not going to keep going. I'm trying to just stick strictly to the specs in my videos now. I hope this is somewhat an improvement, and I'm going to try to keep this improvement going and try to get better and better at it. But anyways, I just, like I said, y'all know I just kind of go through the basis, what I like to call the right out of the box experience. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So it's not a review or an unboxing, it's the in between. But yeah, man, fantastic phone. And Giztop is definitely, I definitely recommend Giztop, as Fossey Carter does. I recommend them 100%. Their customer service is top notch even. So don't be afraid to order from them. Check out everything that they have. And I will see y'all in the next video. Peace out.